Hello and welcome back. Before I begin, I'd like to give a big thank you to 00Smile008, who has become my latest subscriber. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your taking the time. And now, on with the haul. This is going to be another book haul from the Bookthing of Baltimore, which is a wonderful nonprofit that gives out free books every weekend and also accepts donations of any unwanted books you might have. First, I got the last two volumes in Isaac Deutscher's trilogy about Trotsky. That would be The Prophet Unarmed and The Prophet Outcast. The first volume, in case you're curious, is The Prophet Armed. And when am I going to have time to read a 3-volume biography of Trotsky, and do I really want to? I don't know, but they look so great sitting there on the shelf, and I don't know. And then I got The Boat by Nam Le. I read one of Nam Le's short stories in an O. Henry anthology a while ago and really liked it, so I am curious to read this full volume. And then I got The Fly on the Wheel by Catherine Cecil Thurston. You may have seen me occasionally in my other hauls holding up these books that have the green cover and that are published by Penguin. But this is an imprint called Virago Modern Classics, and they publish various works almost exclusively by women, but I think they have a few by men too, that illuminate the modern female experience. And the imprint has a bunch of different looks. Some of them look like this, the green penguin. Some of them are green but have an apple on the spine. Some of them are actually black and are published by Dial. So they come in all different looks, shapes, and sizes. And I've discovered a few really interesting authors through them, including one of my favorite books, Offside by Gisela Elsner. So I tend to just kind of pick these up and later on sort through them, and there may be some I don't want, but if I see them, I just grab them. And I got The Ancient City, a classic study of the religious and civil institutions of ancient Greece and Rome by Fustel de Coulanges. That just sounds like something that would be useful to have. And then Women and Their Sexuality in the New Film by Joan Mellon. And by new film, I assume this means 1960s, 1970s. And classic novel Peregrine Pickle by Tobias Smollett, who is a contemporary of Defoe, Richardson, Fielding, sort of the first wave of English novelists. And A Sitter for a Satyr by George Andrzejewski. Two novels by Henry Adams, Democracy and Esther. I read The Education of Henry Adams, which was Adams's autobiography, which I just loved, and I really do mean to get more into his work. I also read the first volume of his History of the United States during the administration of Jefferson. I have the administration of Madison sitting around, haven't gotten to it yet. And then The Culture of Desire, Paradox and Perversity in Gay Lives Today by Frank Browning. Description of a Struggle, the Vintage Book of Contemporary Eastern European Writing. I've gotten really into Eastern European writers in the past few years, so I'm looking forward to this anthology. And then another Virago Modern Classic, Phoenix Fled by Atiya Hussein. The Complete Stories of David Malouf. He's a pretty well-known Australian writer. And oddly enough, I found myself really into Australian and other Antipodean, in other words, Tasmanian, New Zealanders, women writers. And just haven't read that many books by men from that part of the world. So I'm looking forward to giving this a try. The Rector's Wife by Joanna Trollope. This is my sort of junky pick for the day. I saw the miniseries that was on PBS. It was made into a PBS miniseries in, I think, 1994, and I got around to watching it a few months ago and really liked it, even though it was kind of trashy, so I figured I'd give the book a look. Another Virago, Every Move You Make by Alison Fell. And see, this one has a different spine, because this is the British version. This one is one with an apple. And Full of Life by, oh dear, there we go. Who saw that coming? Full of Life by John Fante, or Font, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. He was a pretty well-known California writer from, I want to say the 1930s. And I actually found this in the children's box, even though he in no way, shape, or form wrote for children. So of course I had to rescue all those poor children from being exposed to this. So I grabbed it. And Sandro of Kegem by Fazil Alexander. This is apparently by a writer from Abkhazia, which is one of the disputed regions between Georgia and Russia. It's sort of part of Georgia, but Russia claims, Russia has a claim on it, and the people there tend to, it's very complicated. But I have never read anything by anybody from Abkhazia before, so I decided to give it a try. And then Finding a Girl in America by Andre Dubus. Andre Dubus is a pretty highly acclaimed short story writer. And he first came to my attention because he wrote the story that one of my all-time favorite films, In the Bedroom, was based on. The story was called Killings. And I looked up the story after I saw the film and really didn't like it nearly as much as I liked the film, but I'm looking forward to giving him another chance. Then I got The Single Voice, an anthology of contemporary fiction, which just has all these huge names in it. I didn't look up the date, but I assume this is from the 60s or maybe the 70s. It's got Eldridge Cleaver, Leonard Cohen, Joseph Heller, just so many people. Female Friends, a novel by Faye Weldon. Faye Weldon is one of those people I really probably should not be acquiring any more books by right now because I have so many of her books, many of which I haven't read. But she wrote a book I absolutely loved called The Life and Loves of a She-Devil. And I just thought that was so good that I keep picking up her stuff. What can I say? Then I got Finding My Father by Rod McEwen. This appears to be a memoir, and Rod McEwen is one of these poets who was very popular in, I think, the 70s, maybe the late 60s. I read one volume of his poetry called Listen to the Warm, if that gives you any idea of what he's like. And it was really not good poetry, but he was very popular. And I'm just sort of curious to read this memoir of his. Then I got Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. This is just a famous science fiction novel, part of a trilogy, which includes Green Mars and Blue Mars. And I got Lord Valentine's Castle by Robert Silverberg, which I probably, Robert Silverberg is another guy. I really don't need to be getting any more of his books. I have plenty, but I don't know. He interests me. What can I say? And then I got The People Could Fly, American Black Folk Tales by Virginia Hamilton. I'm very interested in folklore, so I was happy to find this, even though as the sticker on it says, it is probably more suitable for grade 6. And then I got Wit's End, a novel by Karen Joy Fowler, who, as they are touting on the cover, also wrote the Jane Austen Book Club, which was a novel I really liked, and also a very good film, if you're interested. So I'm looking forward to seeing something else that she's done. And Await Your Reply, which is a novel by Dan, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his last name, it might be Chaon, C-H-A-O-N. This was just really well received. I think it came out maybe a year or two ago, and I just figured I'd give it a try. Then The Wall Jumper, a Berlin story by Peter Schneider. Agonie de l'Indochine by Henri Navarre, a French book about the Vietnam War, which I found a few of these, which really interests me, the French view of their Indochina War and also ours, which became ours. This book, Roll, by A. Ferdinand Hérold, which is about the painter. It's a nonfiction book. Catkin Willow Flats by Liu Xiaotang. This is a classic Chinese collection of short stories. Hard Rain Falling by Don Carpenter. Honestly, I'm not sure exactly what this book is, but it was published by NYRB under the NYRB Classics imprint, and they tend to put out really interesting stuff, so I decided I would just grab it and take a look. And this are the alleged œuvre complète, or complete works, of Alfred de Musset, who is one of my favorite French writers. He was a French romantic poet primarily, but he also wrote some plays, and a great memoir called La Confession d'un enfant du siècle, or Confession of a Child of the Century. And L'Art de l'Alchimie, which is The Art of Alchemy by Paracelsus. Another Vietnam book, Histoire du Vietnam by Philippe de Villiers. And La Fin d'une Guerre by Jean Lacouture and Philippe de Villiers. And Jean Lacouture is pretty famous as a biographer of Ho Chi Minh as well. And then I got La Peste, or The Plague by Albert Camus. And The Art of the Ancient Near East, which is in this great Thames and Hudson series. And The Choreographic Art, which, as you can probably tell, is a book about choreography, which is a subject that interests me. And then Woodstock Dream, which appears to be just a book of photos from Woodstock, although I haven't flipped through it yet. And last but not least, Cinema Nation, the best writing on film from the nation, 1913 to 2000. And if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for my next video.